ask a question, I suppose. All right. Face this side of the room. Here's the Parinirvana Buddha. Here is green Tara. Isn't she beautiful? Yeah. And his the regular historical Buddha with Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. But he's a very beautiful Buddha that used to be in the old Brighton Buddhist Centre before we moved here. So there's a bit of history. Bring your feet together or close. Bring your arms by your sides. Breathe through your nose and visualize and feel your soft tissue as fluid. So the fascia, which can be seen as semi-fluid tissue, can become harder or softer according to mental states and emotional states. And the other thing that's really cool is your emotional states become more expansive if your fascia is softer. It works two ways. So if your emotional states are tense or grasping or uncertain or unsure, then the fascia presumes there's danger. It's filled with nerve endings and tenses up or tightens up, loses fluidity. That affects flow in the body of lymph, of blood, of various fluids through the body. So we really want that flow state. So when we stand up tall, which we're doing now, drop our shoulders, breathe through the nose. We also soften our eyes. We also soften our eyes. And we take deeper breaths. We can imagine we're in the top shrine room of a Buddhist center with a green Tara energy blessing the room on a weekend. Imagine all those scenarios. Raise your arms when you're ready. Lightly tone your tummy so it draws in from the front, in from the sides, in from the back. And then you feed that into up. So you go in to go up. So you keep drawing in. Sometimes movements will help. I sometimes do things like bend one knee or sway a little because we can use those to find more tissues to incorporate. So keep drawing in and up again and again, abhyasa. Don't hold the breath. Use attention, interest, fascination to keep gathering. And the more you gather around this, the less your mind is caught up on in that is to say the past or the future. Now we're going to bend ankles, knees, and hips when we're ready and reach down, slow and calm for the floor. Breathe through the nose and jostle the bottom up and down with the intention to loosen your body in a way that should be able to be perceptible in the breath. So it's not just the body that loosens, but also the breath. In fact, we can say, in all honesty, that the body is only loosening when the breath is also loosening. So up and down movements, breathing easy, jaw soft. We're stretching the calcaneus tendon. We can feel, right, from the calves to the heels. And that's a meditative experience if you want it to be. Just to surrender to the stretch of the calcaneus tendons. Some people are comfortable to take a fairly low squat. Some prefer a sort of middle height or even a higher squat. It's up to you. But raise your arms behind you, then forwards, and then up. And again, you can play with up and down. It doesn't have to, we're certainly not trying to fix anything in terms of sort of solidifying. We want flow. So flow with it. Breathe with it. If you're flowing in the body, you're flowing in the breath. That's all there is to that, really. Stand up, big wide circle, hands to the heart center. Take deep breaths, plural. So 2, 3, 4, or more. Now, if you've got a brick block, then I'd like you to take one. There are more in the back. At home, you can use a regular block if you don't have a brick block, but brick blocks are useful. So perhaps put one on your Christmas list this year. It's a long way from Christmas, but anyway. So brick block in hand. A regular block would work as well. Breathe easy, breathe natural. Raise the opposite hand, so that's the left hand up. Suck in the tummy and move over to one side, letting the weight of the brick block draw down. And as you're drawn gently down by the brick block, draw up meditatively at the pelvic floor. So that's, it's meditative because it's absorbing. Okay, inhale, come up, swap the block, take a deeper breath or two, raise up the other arm when you're ready. And similarly, let the weight of the block draw you down. And as the block draws you down, let the pelvic floor create this. It's called muladhara. Dhara means support. Mula means root. So this root support, the root or the base of a channel that yogins imagine in the body as a way of orientating themselves to a peaceful, non-dual center. This central channel. That's the muladhara, is lifting up at the base of that. Keep breathing easy and natural, deep and honest. Inhale, calmly come up, brick in front of you, deep breaths. Brick in front of you, deep breaths. Raise the brick above your head and just balance it on your hands. And while you're balancing it on your hands, suck your tummy in, keep it drawn in. And again, find body tissue from the front, the sides, and the back. So, you know, it's very easy to daydream. Most of us do quite a lot of the time. And daydreaming can involve thoughts about the moment. Philosophers call it second order reality. But yoga says, no, let's get into first order reality, direct reality. So really feel your body, really understand that you can keep lifting up. You can keep finding tissues to draw up. So I'm doing that by moving intuitively. It's not planned, it's not thought about. I've not read it in a book. But my intuition, like your intuition, can feel directly, like any other mammal. You can feel directly. Inhale, push the block up. Exhale, bend ankles, knees, and hips and bring the block down. It can have any height, down to the floor, hands on the block. So I've chosen the middle height. Obviously, you've got two other choices of height. Draw some deeper breaths. Really deep, really natural, really expressive, really honest. Movements affect movements. So if you move your feet, for example, it will help to hydrate the fascial tissue, the soft tissue through the legs and the back. So move one bit of the body and the whole body moves. Then bring your left hand on the block, push and turn to bring the right hand on your sacrum, which is the bony plate above your tail. Don't hold the breath. Take deeper breaths. If you know, or where the long head of the tricep is, which is on the infraglenoid position, so that's just below where the arm inserts into the shoulder blade, infraglenoid tubercle, then pull down from the shoulder blade towards your elbow, towards the block, and you'll turn more. Check in with that breath. Check in with that breath. Is it expressive? Is the soft tissue softening? Is the fascial tissue becoming more of a fluid? Are the nerves telling the body? And is the body telling the nerves that everything's peaceful, everything's permeable? Let's go the other direction. So the other hand on the block, other hand on the sacrum. Breathe through your nose. Parigraha in Sanskrit for empty of grasping. It literally translates to not a pari, very, graha, graspy. So what is it like to be not very graspy in yoga here and now? Breathing deep, eyes soft, pulling down from the infraglenoid tubercle. That's a little prominence of the shoulder blade below where the arm bone inserts. Keep the breath flowing, flowing, flowing. And movements that conduce to that flow. That's what matters. The opposite of flow is when the mind gets caught on a thought, gets snagged in an idea or a concept or a perception. Okay, back to the block with two hands. Breathe easy, natural. We're going to step the feet apart to a generous stride, a wide stride. We're going to take some deep breaths. If you can, I think it's nice, see what you think, to experiment with the feet a little bit, to lift up the feet Perhaps just 1 foot at a time at the front of the feet. And really stretch out your toes, soften across the fatty tissue across the balls of the feet. One of the things that gives us release in life is when we contact the infinite, that is, that which doesn't have a beginning and an end, but is infinite engagement. And adjusting your feet is just like that. So I started my yoga practice in earnest. That is my modern postural yoga practice in earnest in 1990. And, you know, I haven't stopped. And I certainly haven't stopped broadening the balls of the feet. You know, it's infinite. So that's 35 years. And I anticipate at least another 35 wouldn't do it either. That's why it's good. So you can keep refining the alignment across the balls of the feet, the alignment through the center of the heels. Feel the bone, heel bone, feel the fatty tissue across it, and endeavor to balance. So there's equal fatty tissue on the medial and the lateral sides of the heel bone. Leave the block, come up on the inhalation, leading with the chest, nice and slow. Bring your energy down to your feet. Walk your feet towards each other. Come down to hands and knees, heads facing this direction. Adho Mukha Svanasana. So I'm going to tuck my t-shirt in for reasons of modesty. So you might want to do the same. Spread your fingers out. Have a look at your hands. Are your little fingers on both sides the same distance from the edge of the mat as each other? Have a look. Are your fingers on both hands spread in the same way? So an equal spread. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to spread the connective tissue across the palms. It's worth spending that time. Do the middle fingers both face forwards? It takes ages, if you're honest. But most of us, of course, have been conditioned by society to be impatient. Not our fault, no one's fault. But we can develop more patience through simple things like this, and that will make us feel happier, more content, more peaceful. When you're ready to lift your derriere into the air, then you go ahead, lift your bum. Don't hold your breath. Pad your paws, that's your hands, into the mat so that there's like a meditative weaving of the molecules of your hands into the molecules of the mat. And so we practice deep honesty, satya. First order reality. It's not ideas about it, but a direct experience of weaving the palms into the mat, tuning into the richness of the now. Sometimes we call the now the goddess. Tuning into the richness of the now causes a sloughing off of other radio stations that the nervous system might otherwise be playing. Tune into radio now, and it's massively liberating because you can't be tuned into this and also tuned into ideas about oneself, ideas about other people, ideas about the future, ideas about the past. The summary, we're looking to let go. Now, if you can, take your hands a little wider so you feel the space for the collarbones and bring your shoulders over your wrists. Breathe easy. Again, try and stay, if you can, with the first order reality rather than the commentary. So the commentary comes, doesn't it? You know, like it, don't like it, you know, various other things. But if you're with the reality of the moment, then adaptation is part of listening to the way things are. So you might sway forwards, backwards, side to side to help balance the weight. Obviously, your abdominal muscles are very much engaged in this. We're going to do something that I hope doesn't upset you too much. We're going to lower our knees to touch the floor super lightly. And then, I do love you, I just want to caveat that, we're going to raise them up again. You might think, well, that's a lot. It's a lot, Jim. I'm shaking now. Don't do any more. Well, how about one knee then? Just one on its own. Jim, that's not better. That's just as bad. Then lift that one up, do the other one. Breathe into it. It's just a sensation. Okay. Then knees forwards, sitting in a kneeling position with a block if you need it between your heels and buttocks. Breathing through your nose if you can. So if your knees are tight, please put supports between the heels and buttocks. It really helps. And sometimes it's just nice to do that anyway. Breathing natural, breathing easy. Listening without reaction, because listening, if the channel gets really clear, part of listening is response. It's different from reaction, response. So our job is to drop what the mind takes hold of through the breath, through movement. And that means anything that the mind takes hold of, anything. Drop what the mind takes hold of. Deep, natural, honest breaths. Okay, release from that position. And if you don't mind turning around and kneeling still, we're going to have our block in our hands. If you need to fold your mat in half for more happiness in your life, then you can have that. Sometimes we need that, or a blanket, or whatever you want. We got the block in one hand. We're going to raise the opposite. We're going to raise the left hand. We're going to tone the tummy. Remember before when we found the buoyancy of the pelvic floor, and we lean over. The more we go over, the more it feels like there's an energetic updraft, an uplift from the pelvic floor. Eventually the block might reach the floor, and we bring the bottom ribs forwards. We breathe through our nose. We don't hold the breath. We've got this muladhara, this root support. I think we can all, can't we, concentrate on that? It's very buoyant, the feeling of the pelvic floor support. It's not like a light switch you turn on or off. It's much more buoyant than that. Coming down in your own time, swapping over to the other side, breathing through your nose if you can, raising up, and with tone in the tummy and that buoyancy increasing, we go over. So the buoyancy is, it's hard to describe what yoga is. I think you get the vibe though. It is more of a vibe than anything. But the pelvic floor buoyancy is not like an instruction, like if I was to say, turn the light on or turn the light off. It's more something that's natural. And the Sanskrit word for natural is also the Sanskrit word, the same word used for spontaneous. It's natural. And it's spontaneous. So you only feel spontaneous things when you're not being driven by predecisions, conditioning. So to empty out, we're in a Buddhist Centre, and many parts of Buddhism emphasize emptying out. Okay, come out nice and easy. Take a kneeling position. Again, you can use a block between the heels and buttocks, one hand on top of the other. Breathe through your nose if you can. Natural, honest breath. There's a wonderful sutra in the Buddhist tradition called the Vajrachedika Sutra, which means the diamond cutter sutra. And at the end, Shariputra, who's one of the Buddha's friends, the Buddha says to him, I just want to check, Shariputra, but during this sutra, I didn't teach you anything, did I? And Shariputra says, no, it's okay. You didn't teach me anything at all. And that's the goal. That's the whole point of the sutra, is like letting go. The teaching is letting go, not holding on. I think that's very, very beautiful. I recommend the sutra to you. When you're ready, we're going to fold over one part of our mat, and then we're going to refold it because, well, we like a little bit of comfort, don't we? If you've got a brick block and a regular block, that's super. But you can have two regular blocks, or even one regular block and, I don't know, a kiln jar in the other hand would work. But what we're going to do is place either the brick block, that's what I like, but some people prefer a lower block for their foot, so you can swap them around if you want. Either one, the lower or higher. I'm keeping the lower block in my hand and the brick block in front of my foot. And then you extend your foot. So if you find the brick block too high, swap it out, put the purple block under and have the brick block in your hand. It doesn't really matter. The heel lines up with the knee. The heel lines up with the knee. And the standing leg is left very slightly sloping. Very slightly sloping. So you don't want your standing leg straight up like that, just to slope a little bit at the top. The final instruction regarding alignment is that the block should cut in to where the ball of the foot meets the foot arches. That's where the block cuts in. Now, if you jostle your leg a little, you can begin to turn your thigh to face straight up without taking weight off your inner foot. So you jostle and turn. It's like as you're jostling, you're turning and you're focusing on keeping weight on the big toe side of the foot. And that's a meditation. It's how long you want to spend on that is up to how meditative it is for you. Then we're going to take the brick block, whichever kind of block you've got, which one you've chosen, and then we're going to bring that down to the floor, raise our arm up, tone the tummy, don't hold the breath. So obviously you can have the block any height you like, it's full height, half height, even the lowest position. And of course that partly depends how long your arms are. You've got really long arms, then it might be easy to reach low. Breathe through your nose. The pose is called Parighasana. Parighasana means a crossbar of a gate, which you look like now, apparently. Let's take some deeper breaths. Especially you. You know who I'm talking to. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, you got me, Jim. I was holding on a bit there. Remember, yoga is really there to encourage letting go. There's nothing that we want to hold on to. Yoga says that our superpower is in emptiness. If you want to know where your superpower is, it's in emptiness. Emptying out. Okay, that's wonderful. Come on up. Good job. Yeah, that's changed things up a bit, hasn't it? Whew. It's like being slapped around the face with a wet fish in a good way. If there is a good way to be slapped around the face by a wet fish. Obviously, you move everything to the other side. Kneeling, similarly. And check all those. There are 3 alignment things. Now, I'm not going to tell you them at first, but I'm going to see if you can remember. I'm not going to out you or anything, but see if you can remember the 3 alignment things, and then I'll tell you afterwards. And then next time you'll be ready for me. So 3 alignment things. See if you can remember what they are. If it's making you tense, just take a breath. You know, I love you just the way you are. Might write a song called that. Okay, the 3 alignment things are sloping, standing leg, slightly sloping, heel to knee alignment. And where the block cuts in is where the ball of the foot meets the foot arches. Those are your 3 alignment things. When you're ready, raise your block up, keep your tummy lightly toned, come down in your own time, some sense of lift in your inner groin of the bent leg. Bottom ribs forwards, breathe through your nose. There's the option to stretch up and even the option to stretch over. It's an option. But you're looking up, perhaps up under your armpit, perhaps taking deep breaths if the territory around the armpit is safe to do so. Jaw soft, eyes soft. So keep that tummy lightly toned. Try and have a face that if you were to see someone with that facial expression on the bus, you would think, oh, they look quite nice, rather than, you know, what's wrong with them? Right? So, does your face look like someone would think, oh, they look all right, approachable? Good job, Dan. Inhale, come on up. Well done. Bring your legs towards each other. You're soft. Quite soft. Special Aries human step. Now we're going to the first side again. So we'll do that now. I'm going to presume that you're all saying yes. First side again. In other words, fold the first side of the mat. Take a breath or two. Your block is going to go under your foot. Voila. Like that. A very good stance, I think you'll agree. If I was advertising these shorts in a magazine, I'd probably be in this stance like that. Maybe smoking a cigarette, looking oh so cool. I'd probably have a jumper, a cream jumper over my shoulders for the full look. Elbow down, stretch up, suck in that tongue, breathe easy, enjoy your life. That's just a general comment, not about the pose. And play with the pose in any way that works. So you know, enjoy your life. Obviously, the pose is part of your life. So you can spread it into the pose as well if you want. So movement helps create release. If the breath isn't releasing, then the body is not either. So move in ways that encourage us to shed what we would call in some traditions karmic particles. What that means to you and me on a subjective level is whatever the mind has taken hold of, whatever the mind has clung to, whether it be a pet peeve or a worry or even excitement or anticipation or a presumption or a grudge or a problem. Mind gets hold of problems, it can't let go. It's I've got this problem. I can't let it go until I solve it. But yoga says, move in ways that make your breath release. And whatever lets go with that, great. Your superpower comes at the point when your hand is completely open, metaphorically. Okay, arm down, good job. Obviously, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Keep breathing deep, keep breathing natural. So the brick block is going under your foot. You're kneeling. Good job. And then playing. So this play helps to release the adductors, the hamstrings. The adductors are the 5 muscles on the inside of the leg. 3 of them begin with the word adductor. One is short, it's called adductor brevis. One is long, it's called adductor longus. And one is big, it's called adductor magnus. Connected with the Sanskrit word, the word magnus, the Latin word magnus, is connected to the Sanskrit maha, as in Mahatma Gandhi. Both of them mean great or big. Right, Barbara. Stretch up and over. I didn't video that. I would edit it out if it was in the video. Breathe through your nose. Playing backwards and forwards. You know, sometimes lifting the front of your foot up helps. Remember, we're just intuition. I don't know if it's out of publication or if just people who've got the message now, but for about 3, maybe 4 birthdays and Christmases, I've probably told you before, I received a little pocketbook yoga for cats from various people, from aunties and friends who didn't know me well and that sort of thing. Yoga for cats. They had pictures of cats doing yoga in it. And the problem with that book is it's useless. Because it's landfill, exactly. Unfortunately, probably my copies went that way. Because cats don't need a book on yoga, do they? They know how to stretch and move. But neither do humans, actually. Although we buy them in countless numbers, and I hope you'll buy mine when they come out, because I've got a mortgage to clear. But, but you know, cats know how to move intuitively. You're a mammal, we're mammals. Dogs know how to move intuitively. You know, all creatures know how to move intuitively. You don't think about it or buy little books about it. You know what makes you feel like you're dropping ballast, like you're feeling lighter, like you're emptying out, like you're breathing deeper. Okay, that's great. Come on out. Well done. And then, yeah, open up your mat when you're ready. I hope you don't mind me asking you to stand up again. Do you mind? No, we don't seem to. It was a sort of vibe like, well, I do a bit, but I'll do it anyway. So thank you. Take your brick block in your hand, step your feet generously apart, hold the brick block in front of you and breathe through your nose if you can. So some really deep breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft. We're going to turn the left toes in and the right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot first, and then the last bit is done on the heel. The last bit is done on the heel. We should have heel to arch alignment. That's what we're looking for, heel to arch. So just have a look and check. What we don't want is heel to heel alignment. When you're ready, bend your front knee back and forth, stretching into your back leg. Again, I have to say, because it's so useful for me, I'm not saying it will be for you. I lift up my toes sometimes, the whole front part of the foot as well. But as we know from the 1938 song by James Young and Oliver Melvin, I think, got that right. It ain't what you do, but the way that you do it. Come down when you're ready with your brick block on the inside of your leg, any height. So you're leaning forwards to the brick block. Catch your breath. Catch your breath. Again, feel free to be spontaneous, like raising the heel or heels if you want, bringing the back knee forwards or up. The point is, are the movements you're making encouraging a release? Are they encouraging a release? Even if it's just a little release. We're going to lift the back heel anyway and turn the back leg medially towards the floor, the back knee towards the floor. And then we're going to lower it down very, very slowly, down to the floor. We're breathing into that, not holding the breath, keeping the jaw passive. Really using the breath as a tool of gentle release. Okay, coming back slowly and controlled and calm. One hand on your thigh, the other hand holding the block. Use an inhale as you push into your thigh and come up. Well done. Feet forwards, breathe through your nose. Take a couple of really deep breaths. Really deep breaths. So we're beginning to stretch the intercostals. We're beginning to release the diaphragm. The release of the diaphragm is part of the opening. The tight fist becoming an open palm is the yoga project. Turn your back toes in. Tight fist becoming open palm. Front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. When you're ready, bend and re-extend. So you're massaging the adductors. You remember the names of them. Brevis, longus, magnus. And they come from your pubic bone to your inner thigh at various lengths. Now, none of us here are the kind of people that do things because we're told. I think we might even be the opposite kind of people to that. So we're not moving backwards and forwards because we're told. We're moving backwards and forwards because we're investigating. We're using it. We're using it to loosen our own bodily experience and the breath particularly. Whenever you feel calm and ready, then you bend down, bring your block to the floor. Obviously, any height. Keep breathing and playing with the stretches that you can experiment with. Take deeper breaths whenever you need them. So there's lots of ways you can experiment. You can turn your back knee in, you can lift the heel up, you can turn it back out, you can lift the front heel up. You just play with it in your own way. Obviously, it's not prescriptive, it's investigative. When you're ready, we're going to lift the back heel anyway and turn it out and turn the knee to face the floor. And finally bring the knee down to the floor and keep breathing natural. Keep breathing natural. So it's like a little bit like a pose called Anjaneyasana, but it's mixed in with Pajvakonasana. And it's a groin stretch, an inner groin stretch, and a rotation. So it's a really good way to get into the release of a muscle called the psoas, inner groin area, deeply connected to your breath. Deeply connected to your breath. Great. Okay, if you're ready to come back, do it in a controlled, steady way. One hand on your thigh, other hand holding the brick, push into your leg and come on up. Good job. Feet face forwards. Take deep breaths. Still hold onto your brick. So really deep, natural breaths. So circulation of blood, circulation of lymph, circulation of oxygen is the circulation of prana, of energy. And circulation is the opposite to attachment. So we get this sense of flow. Left toes in, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. We're going to bend the front knee back and forth so that you can feel you're actually releasing something. You're actually releasing whatever it is. We're very sensitive beings, aren't we? So sensitive beings are, in the Eastern tradition, you wouldn't be called a sensitive being. You'd be called something rather less pretty. You'd be called a sticky being. So if you're sensitive, you're sticky, meaning that stuff sticks to you. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's many of us that come to yoga are sticky beings. And the antidote to being sticky is to let go, is to breathe, is to invite release. Now in yoga, that's called the shedding of karmic particles. And it starts to make you feel lighter, like your vision becomes unobscured. When you're ready, you can come all the way down with your brick block on the little toe side of your foot, any height. And then adjusting and readjusting. Again, I'm a heel lifter. I don't mind admitting it. So I lift sometimes, it helps me, but it might not help you. Maybe lifting your toes is better, or maybe neither. Stretch up and over if you're ready. This is the Pajvakonasana. Don't hold your breath. Again, don't forget to have a face that at least is not frightening, minimally. Make sure it's not frightening. So if stranger saw you on the bus, they wouldn't think, oh, gosh, there's only one seat left and it's next to that person. I'm not going to sit there, So try to have a face that's at least not frightening. Breathe easy. Good job. Calmness conditions connection. Okay. Come on up on the inhale. Good job. Don't be shy to take deep breaths. Really deep breaths, so that's circulation, isn't it? I've compared it to a big wooden spoon stirring a pot of porridge to make sure there are no lumps, or that if any lumps are there, they're stirred out. Lumps are areas, symbolic of areas around which we get caught. Views, opinions, ideas. So we're loosening up with the breath so we don't get caught, so we stay open. And openness means lightness, and lightness means you can float with the moment. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. So who doesn't want to float with the moment? Sounds pretty good, don't it? Make sure you haven't got heel to heel alignment. Otherwise, I'll get all sad inside. So just check. No one wants Jim to feel all sad inside. Don't have heel to heel. That makes me all sad inside. Have heel to arch, or even heel to toe. I don't mind that. But not heel to heel unless you want me to feel all sad inside. Now bend your knee when you're ready, back and forth, massaging into those adductor muscles. Easy to remember their names. And then come down in your own time. Any height with the brick, bottom ribs forwards, jaw relaxed, breathing through your nose, keeping calm, keeping calm. Again, Play can be helpful. There's the option to take the arm up, maybe over. Parshva means side. Kona means angle or corner. So this is Parshva Kona. And then asana has come to mean all postures only in the last few hundred years, because originally it comes from a root that means to sit, the root as, which is quite easy to remember because we tend to sit on that, don't we? So Sanskrit as means to sit. These are asanas. Don't hold the breath, play with it. Play with the body. Play in a way that kind of tunes you more and more into this, into the changeable majesty of this, changeable majesty. Good job. Well done. Come on up. Deep, natural breaths. Jaw soft. Walk your feet calmly towards each other and turn to face towards the midline of the room here. Bring your feet close or together. You're standing at about the length of your foot away from the end of the mat. And you've got your brick block close to hand. So take deep, natural breaths. Feet close or together. If they're not together, then they should be level. We want to make sure one isn't forwards, one isn't back, one isn't in, one isn't out. Holding the brick in front of the pelvis. Breathing softness across the collarbones. Soft eyes, soft jaw. Back of the thighs in towards the front of the thighs. Front of the thighs lifting towards the skies. Back of the thighs towards the front of the thighs. Front of the thighs towards the skies. To get without holding the breath, importantly. Inner groins up, outer thighs in. The gluteal regions, buttocks, toning up individually, like they're sort of gathering into themselves. Try and feel the gluteal regions gathering into themselves. So from the inside, from the outside, from underneath, from the top, the gluteal regions continue to gather into themselves, become firm but not squeezed together. The toes are still relaxed while the gluteal regions are active like this. And the chest is up, the collarbones are soft, the eyes are softening. We're going to take the leg that's furthest away from this side of the room where I am, and we're going to simply step it back. The leg furthest away from me. I'm taking the one closest to this side, but you're taking the one furthest from this side. Good. Backwards. Then take the front foot towards this side of the room. Just as I'm taking mine towards you, you're taking yours towards me. Then lift your back heel, turn it out. Then bring it back down again. You might need to do that 2 or 3 or 4 times to square up. Breathe through your nose if you can. Take the brick block in the hand furthest away from this side of the room. I'm taking mine closest to this, but you're bringing yours furthest from this. Other hand on your hip, tummy toned. Breathe through your nose. Feel that muladhara, that pelvic floor support. Inhale. Exhale. Come down in your own time. Keep turning and breathing. Brick block can be big toe side or little toe side, any height. Your other hand then turns to come onto your sacrum. No, you're good as you were, Simon. Perfect as you were. Yeah, perfect. Jaw soft. Yeah, you got it. Should be facing this way, Malcolm. Swap hands. Keep the block where it is. Just swap hands. The other hand on it. You got it. You got it. Breathe easy. Relax that jaw. Extend those bottom ribs. Breathe through your nose. Bring increasing tone to your front thigh. Okay, as calmly as you can. Come back up. Step your back foot forwards. Feet together. Block in front of you. Deep breaths. Plural. Really deep breaths, really natural deep breathing. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft, tongue soft. Take your other foot, the one that's closest to me, take that back towards the back of your mat. Walk the front foot further across the width of the mat away from you. You got it. Then raise your block in the hand that's closest to me. Keep your tummy lightly toned, so it's in the opposite hand to your front leg. Inhale, lift up from your inner groin. Exhale, extend forwards the bottom ribs as you come down. Big toe side, little toe side, doesn't matter. Any height. Then extend the bottom ribs without holding your breath. Extend the bottom ribs without holding your breath. This, of course, is Parivrtta Trikonasana. It's all about the breath. So take deeper breaths. Relax the jaw. Relax the eyes. Draw in the tummy and pull it forwards from the pubics towards the chest. Relax the little toe on your back foot. It's impossible to relax the little toe on the back foot without relaxing and releasing the breath, without relaxing and releasing the mind into this moment. Into this moment. Okay, calmly coming back up, stepping your back foot forwards, stepping your feet hip width apart, looking at your feet, checking that. If you were standing on little railway tracks, and by the way, there are no little railway trains coming on these imaginary tracks, so you can relax, and they're not electrified either. If you were standing on little railway tracks, the tracks would go through the gap between the second and third toe and out of the middle of the heel, and they wouldn't cross over anywhere because they're aligned with the middle of your feet. So even if the tracks extended for miles behind you, because your heels aren't mildly turning in, they wouldn't cross over even half a mile, 2 miles, anywhere distant behind you. Similarly, for the front toes. Now we're going to raise the block up. Gently feel like there's a sense in which we feel like we're pulling the block apart. It's not really, it's hard to describe. It's not really overly done. It's sort of just a natural feeling of outwardness from each hand. It's not like we're actually a person trying to pull, but it's more of a natural feeling of outwardness, like an outward drift that's only stopped by the block being there, the traction of the block on the hands or the hands on the block. Inhale, stretch high. Exhale, hinge from the hip joints, top of the outer thighs, and bring your block down any height. You can turn it to its full height. You can have it on its half height. Chest open. Breathe deeply through your nose. Of course, there's no problem having the knees bent, and there's no problem having them straight. The only problem would be if you were taking an action that wasn't releasing your breath. So again, it ain't what you do. Jamie Young and Oliver Melvin, I think, that's right. I try to remember that because my name as a child, my childhood name was, still is with my family, it was Jamie, and my dad's name was Melvin, so it's quite easy for me to remember. Jamie Young, I'm younger than Melvin because he was my dad. So, it ain't what you do, but the way that you do it. So the way that you do it, whatever it is, should conduce to breath release. You could do things like bending your knees, you could pedal your heels, you could move your torso, but is it bringing breath release? Is it bringing breath release? Anything goes as long as it flows in the breath. Adjusting and readjusting. Some people even like lifting the heels up. Obviously, that makes the legs longer for a moment, and that helps to tip the pelvis. If you found that it was comfortable and it made your breath release to tip the pelvis, you could. So we stay with a block, or we lower the block, or we tip the pelvis, doesn't matter. If you wanted to, some people like to hold their elbows rather than the block, that's fine too. This pose is called Uttanasana number 1. Breath is what matters. Hanging from your hip joints. Over a period of time, we're gently nudging the hamstrings to stretch in a way that the breath is in agreement with. Fiber by fiber. Working fiber by fiber. Recruiting cell by cell to the pose. Now we're all going to bring our hands onto the floor, so move your block. You can bend your knees more, of course, because we want the hands to be flat. Then we're going to step the feet back towards the back of the mat. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Adho Mukha Svanasana, of course, is downward facing dog. Your first mission, if you choose to accept it, is to pad the paws into the floor in a way that lets the pose more and more deeply in and squeezes out anything that's got stuck to you. So we want to be like the Talking Heads song. We want to turn from sticky people to slippery people. It's a very good song by Talking Heads, by the way. Now we're going to walk the feet a little closer to each other, left towards right, right towards left. We're going to raise the leg that's closest to this side where I am and play with the turning in, turning out, bending, extending, lifting and descending of the standing leg, heel, anything that feels releasing, that feels meditative, that feels useful. And when you're ready with the bent knee, we're going to attempt to sweep the foot forwards into the place of the hand. So the hand will have to move out of the way. You might need to do it 2 or 3 steps, but the hand moves out of the way and the foot takes its place. Then, with the fingers on the floor, we're going to lift and land the back knee a few times. You're going to lift and land the back knee a few times with a view to extending the inner groin. Climbing up onto your leg. If your back knee is uncomfortable, you can immediately come back down to your hands and readjust. Sometimes a millimeter adjustment can make a huge difference to your comfort. And it's quite easy to adjust correctly if you just adjust and readjust. You can raise your arms if you want. Breathe through your nose if you can. This is the Anjaneyasana. Keep that tummy lightly toned. Feel that supported buoyancy from the pelvic floor. Take deeper breaths and release your neck so you feel just a bit more spacious. Come forwards in your own time to come back to your Adho Mukha, the downward facing dog. Don't hold the breath. It looks great, actually. You can pedal the heels if you want, pad the palms. find things that really help you to feel like, you're shedding karmic particles. The more you can incorporate the cells of the body into this pose, for example, incorporating the front thighs cell by cell into this pose by lifting them cell by cell, then the more the body will release what it was previously holding. It becomes released. We start to become lighter. When you're ready, walking your feet a little closer to each other, raise up the other leg similarly. Excellent. Bending and extending if you wish, turning in, turning out, lifting and landing. It's all about flow for you here and now. So honesty is a big part of yoga. If you're ready, when you're ready, with a bent knee, sweep the foot forwards in however many stages you need to bring the foot forwards into the place of the hand. Then we're lifting and landing the back knee until it gets its right position on the floor. And that might need adjustment and readjustment. And finally, if you're ready, coming up, don't forget you can come back down to your hands if you need to adjust your knee. Millimeters of adjustment make huge amounts of difference. The arms raise up. The breath is deep and natural. There's a release from the inner groin of the standing leg. We say deep, expressive, natural, powerful, honest breaths. Deep, natural, honest, powerful breaths. Okay, wunderbar. Come down and back up. Our penultimate down face dog of the day, maybe. Maybe you're going to do some more when you get home, but in the class anyway, our penultimate down face dog. So make it count, make the pose take over the cells, the muscles, the spindles, the ligaments, the tendons, cell by cell. Give each cell, incorporate each cell, and as it comes into the pose, it cannot both serve the pose and hold on to views and opinions. And so we begin to enter the great power of emptiness, of openness, which is the heart of our power. When ready, raise up the leg closest to me. Bend and extend. This is the penultimate time we'll do this action, but it's a different pose we're coming into. We're going to bring the knee forwards to the back of its own wrist, and there the knee is going to stay. The foot itself will move in your own time diagonally across the body as you stretch your other leg back. And either lifting up, which is less popular in terms of release, less effective for people, or coming down to the forearms, which for most people gives a very deep, immediate release. So, or both, if you want. But whatever you're doing, breathe into it. Whatever you're doing, breathe into it. Whatever you're doing, breathe into it. If you're up, come down a little. If you're down, come up a little. Tuck your back toes under, bring your back knee forwards, come back to hands and knees. And here is our ultimate down face dog of the class. So breathe deep into it. Incorporate cells of the outer arm, cells of the inner arm. Can you do that? Incorporate cells into the updraft, into an upward drawing action of the outer arm. Cells of the inner arm, similarly. Can you incorporate those? Cells of the underside of the arm. Cells of the side ribs. Draw the front thighs up, incorporating more and more of the cells into the pose, and therefore releasing whatever had arrested the body, habits, presumptions, ideas, opinions that cloud the mind. Walk your feet a little closer together, raise the other leg to the one you raised before, bend and extend. Breathe through your nose, play with it in any way that's actually effective at releasing your breath. And when you feel ready, the knee comes forwards and lands behind the wrist. There it stays as the foot moves diagonally across the body, and you stretch back in your own time, either coming down straight away to the forearms, or staying up, or going down and then coming up, any variation on those themes. But what matters is your breath. Breathe through your nose if you can. Breathe through your nose if you can. Reiterative tone in the tongue if you're raised up. Movement side to side if you're down on the forearms. It's all about the breath. If you're up, come down a little. If you're down, come up a little. Tuck your back toes under, bring your back knee forwards, and come out of the hands and knees position to a seated position facing towards the front of the room where I am. My suggested seated position is Siddhasana. Siddha is an adept. And the Siddha position, or the Siddha's seat, the adept seat, is sitting on a brick block, ideally, underneath the bum, heels aligned with each other and with the midline of the body. So the base of the pose is very wide. The heels align with each other and the midline of the body. But if this pose is tricky, you can sit in any pose that's comfortable. Any pose that's comfortable where you're sitting upright on any amount of blocks. Breathe through your nose if you can. Close your eyes if you want to. Bring your attention, so it's like you're bringing your gaze, your stare, your awareness to the heart. Bring your attention to the heart. And whatever's competing for your attention, be gentle, but gently prize your attention off whatever's competing with the awareness of the heart, and increasingly let attention arrive in the heart. Visualize, if you can, or just tell yourself that it's there, a red lotus flower like a water lily that starts as a bud, but every time you breathe in, it opens a little bit. It's a bit of a 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, because it closes a little bit when you breathe out. It just opens a little bit more with the inhale than it closes with the exhale. Meaning that gradually it begins to become more and more open. It's a gentle process. As it opens, it reveals its pericarp, which is the little landing platform lotus flowers have in the middle, like a little flat disc. And on that pericarp, if you can imagine the full moon laid flat, it's called a moon seat, Chandrasana. So it was the full moon last night, so you might have seen it, so it's easy to imagine it laid flat in this opening and even open red lotus flower with this moon mat. And on that moon mat, the mantra, Hum, circles round. Hum. Right. Like there are several in a circle. Imagine 3 or 4 or 5, and Hum is written, and they're circling round. And as they circle around, they emit the sound Hum in every direction. And in the middle of those circling Hums, there's an Om made of white light. Just the word Om. You can imagine the symbol, the glyph for Om. Or if you know it, which looks a bit like a 3 with a tail on it and then a little crescent moon with a dot. Or just the letters OM. Staying with that visualization, bring your hands to the heart. So you've got your red lotus flower. You've got the pericarp with the moon mat on it. You've got Hums circling round, emitting the sound Hum. And in the middle, made of white light, an Om. We're going to fortify the stability of that Om in the heart center by chanting it out loud 3 times. So let's do that together. We're planting it. Take a deep breath in for Om. Om. Obviously 2 more. And the last one, the deepest breath of all. That, you take a really deep breath to relax with the exhale like a sigh. Let a few of those deep breaths roll through you. And then roll through you. The closed fist has become the open palm. The yogin is trusting fully in openness, the open palm. The Varada mudra, the gift bestowing mudra, is the gift of spontaneous response that comes about only when the yogin has an open palm, when the yogin is clinging to nothing at all. Society has taught us to hoard, to grasp, to grab, to accumulate problems and things and ideas. Yoga says, let go. Yoga says, your power is in emptiness. The power of consciousness itself. Release your hands when you're ready. We're going to lay flat on our backs. Making sure, of course, that we're warm and comfortable. And whatever you need to be warm and comfortable. Make sure, of course, that your legs are not too wide and that your arms are sufficiently wide. Your hands shouldn't be on your yoga mat. They should be on the floor. The palms should face up. And the shoulder blades should scoot gently under the body towards the feet. One little scoot usually does it like, and they're under. And the chest is left in this lovely buoyant sort of floating. So check that the arms are really generously placed. You can feel space around your collarbones. The hands are clear of the mat, quite a good distance clear of the mat. And that buoyant, floating, light feeling to the chest. We bring our attention to the heart center. It's said in some Upanishads that in the heart center there's a little house. And in that little house is a tiny space. And in that tiny space, the whole of the universe exists. Meaning that when attention focuses on a singular point and disappears into that singular point, all contains the elements of everything. Anything contains the elements of everything. So you bring your attention to this tiny space within the heart. And we feel that the whole, have a sense that the whole of everything is there. It's called Vaisantara, the universe within. Feel gently into the body with a little bit of movement. Just move your toes, you can feel energy, prana. Move your fingers, you can feel energy, prana. Move the ankles and move the wrists. Let those movements turn into investigative, waking up stretches. Let those stretches develop until you feel you really got energy in the body and eventually feel ready to bend the legs. When you've bent the legs, scoot the buttocks under towards the heels and take a deep breath to let go of the lower back totally into the breath. You're ready. Roll over onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room. Lay as comfortably as you can with your knees drawn up and the tummy soft. Again, in your own time, roll to your other side. Lay as comfortably as you can with the knees drawn up and the tummy soft. Let in a bit of light and a bit of color. And take further stretches that enable you to feel ready to come up from the side, nice and easy. And once you have brought yourself up, if you're into it, face towards the shrine where we've got this magnificent green Tara. Hands together in a prayer position. And if you agree with the words that I'm going to say, then say at the end, Om, which just means, yeah, I agree with that. And then when you've said Om, or if you say Om, then imagine radiating out in all directions towards all beings. May any merit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely all beings. Om. Imagine, if you can, the radiating out to all beings. It includes everyone here, including yourself. All beings, whether they be in the sky or on the ground or in the earth, whether they be old or young or middle-aged, even those yet to be born. Whatever they're doing, whatever they're feeling, imagine that the energy extending out from our well-wishing just brings a little tiny, unexpected bit of increased well-being or relaxation to whomever or whatever this energy impacts. Thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. It's lovely to see the sunshine. I should say that I'm running an immersion retreat in May in Sussex, and I've got flyers for it, and they've got a QR code on. Yeah, very modern. If you want one of those flyers, they're at the front or at the back. There are other flyers with the pink flyers that tell you everything that I'm doing yoga-wise, including a new class that's about to start in a couple of weeks. Thanks so much, Sumas. Really appreciate your time. Love you so much. And stay out of trouble. Love you. Bye.